Okay, introducing on my show now. It's great to interview a professional writer, Laura Langseth, on my radio show and podcast to speak about her brand new publication and audio book. But before we get into that, I just wanted to introduce you on. Where are you zooming in from?
I am zooming in from Minnesota in the United States, actually in White Bear Lake.
Fantastic. And how long have you been like a narrator and a storyteller for?
Oh, I've been a storyteller for maybe the last year and a half because they're very special letters that I've been kind of editing and reading that related to my father, the writings he shared when he was in Vietnam, drafted as a physician. Um, Back when the United States was desperately wanting more skilled physicians to really support the soldiers and even the Vietnamese people in distress during the all things that were the Vietnam War. Very hard and
Okay.
challenging. So this is new to me, to be honest, but happily involved and I'm happy to share his writings.
Yeah, that's great, and we can touch on that shortly. And was I guess like writing these pieces, letters, putting them together. Was that something you always wanted to pursue? To accomplish.
Uh, in some ways, yes, because I was close to my father growing up, him as a physician and me kind of tagging along as the youngest child. And when he'd go to do different doctor things, even before he was drafted. But once he was drafted, I think my love um, of him being a family practice doctor and me being a social worker kind of focused person, like family practice doctors are the grassroots of all things that people need. And having him receive a letter drafting him when I was probably seven-ish, six-ish, and thought, oh my goodness, the president needs my dad to care for soldiers in Vietnam. So it's been a long journey of really respecting that base level of care and being a solid physician that helped me be a solid social worker. So the the letters that were basically, I don't want to say recovered, but when my dad had passed and then my mom had passed, the box of the letters had been there, and I was the I was the sibling, the child that said these are special, they mean something. So yes, that was my passion,
And your
to make
latest
sure that they were shared.
the latest release is called Four Seasons from Vietnam, Letters from My Father, as you just mentioned.
Yes.
And do you feel it takes the reader on a journey?
Oh my goodness. That's a lovely question. Thank you for asking. It's 100% a journey, and I'm really grateful for the people who helped um, bring other things to me simply reading. Um, there's a team in Birmingham and those in Minneapolis, Minnesota as well. So Birmingham, Alabama, but he starts the storytelling as he gets on the ship, which was a very long journey from Los Angeles to even get to Vietnam back in 1967, 68. Um, yeah, it's really it's quite lovely. His love of the sea, his actual joy of wanting to get to Vietnam and do the work that he was requested to do. And to be clear, he did not want to go, but once it was inevitable, he found comfort, if that's a good word. But he was resolute in that this is what I need to do. I've been asked to do it. There's no turning back. Resolute is a better word. So
And
him even being on the boat and not feeling seasick and looking forward to being in Vietnam and doing the work that he had accepted was his duty.
And for the 4 seasons from Vietnam, Letters from a Father, I know that's mainly released on audiobook, but is it also available on, like, say, paperback, paper form, or is it just like just to listen to?
It's it's not paper form yet. We've talked about it. This is rather recent. I think the readings were what we were all excited about to have me as a daughter read it. So I think there'll be a paperback form soon, maybe more pictures, but I think the music that's been included and its songs and just music that I knew my dad loved. It kind of starts with Claire de Lune. It's lovely.
Hmm.
So I think the audio version was what we were most excited about as a team, just to have me read and include music and different things. So, but yes, a paperback is down the road with maybe more photos. But for now, I think we were most excited to have the actual daughter reading his
Yeah.
letters. Yeah.
It's,
Does
it's,
that
it's
make sense?
amazing.
Thank you.
It's amazing how people reading books, from buying books in bookshops, people's how they kind of read, digest information has changed over the years, evolved, from books to tablet to audio books. And did you feel that was really a perfect way to preserve, your father's wartime letters and continue his legacy for many years to come?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Thank you. Another lovely question. Thank you. You're very kind. I wanted my voice to bring light to my dad's voice for my children and maybe even others who have family members who are otherwise similar to my father being drafted or whatever, or even families who had loved ones who were part of the Vietnam experience that was not a good outcome. He cared so much for the soldiers that were being um, I, I don't want to use like bold language, but we're dying and came in pursuit of something positive on behalf of the Vietnamese. So I think the 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 audio version is meaningful for me.
And
And I think it may be for others too. And I don't know how much you're familiar with the actual audio book, but there's also tapes because my parents would share tapes back and forth. So there's not the consistency of their tapes that like they would over record things. So the last two tapes that they shared are part of the book as well, which is I think really meaningful, and that would be different in a written version. So I think the audio version initially was really important to share.
and being important, is it to keep the following generations to come educated about people who have served in previous wars and combats, whether it's on the front line, medical professions, working in the kitchen, providing food, and the sacrifices they made. How important is to keep people educated about what previous generations have gone through?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again, Danny. You're really skilled at what you do. Yeah, I think it's very important that anyone who had a loved one that was in Vietnam and could maybe hear my dad's singular experience as being a physician, although he also had shared experiences with surgeons and others, their friendships develop in this audiobook. But it means a lot to me that I can share something that families who maybe lost a very young son, that there were physicians, most importantly my dad, because that's what it's about, but who truly cared, along with his colleagues, about how can we do right by them with all their sacrificing with great zeal. The soldiers there from the United States really wanted to do their best, and for them to have poor outcomes, to know that there's at least one physician and physician teams
Mm.
in July that cared so much about making sure that their sacrifices were not undignified.
So I know a lot of servicemen and servicewomen. They were very young. There was a song, um, one English musician wrote called 19. I'm not sure if it was the exact age, the average person serving in the Vietnam
Yeah,
War, but it was definitely very young, the people he was sent out there.
yeah. Too young, and they were they were full of zeal and joy and wanting to do something for a good cause.
Mm.
So yeah, that's a big part. So part of it is my family legacy, but it's also part of I would really like anyone who had a young soldier that was drafted or otherwise enlisted with joy, to know that there was this solid little tight little group of physicians that I'm familiar with through my dad's letters that was all about caring for them and doing his very best. Yeah.
And your audio book is out now. Have you had any feedback, from people, who can relate to, the letters?
Interestingly enough, I have not. I haven't gotten feedback except from those that know me that I talk about the book with. And I'm going to be meeting with a group of Vietnam, um, I would say survivors later this
Mm.
evening here where I live, um, who I think really appreciate. Let's keep talking about the soldiers and all who were there, somewhat reluctantly, and it was the war that had no heroes. It wasn't like World War II or World War One. It's a sad war where there was so much frustration. So I think bringing any kind of positive uh, positive story that is, yeah, the soldiers did their best, the physicians did their best, the nurses did their best. All these people were there to support this cause that I don't think anyone was entirely comfortable with, but we as a country committed to this. Yeah, so I hope that it brings some comfort that although it was the war that no one wanted to be in, it wasn't going to be won. I don't want to get too, editorializing it, but just to know that there were really good people doing really good things.
And just want to say thank you for coming on to the show, just to share your experiences about putting this book together. Yeah, I know there's a lot of work, when you're creating story books and audio
Mhm.
books, any
Yeah.
publication. And one final question I always ask, try and give my guests a bit of coverage, to share their, product, or their music, or their books, whichever. Do you have an official website where people can visit, to buy your new audio book?
Oh, yeah. Well, anywhere audiobooks are available, and I think it's minimally priced, if not free, which I'm really happy about. So wherever people get audio or any kind of media such as listening, it's available on all of them, and it's again, I think it's mostly free, which I'm happy about.
That's
So,
amazing.
and I do think it's a worthwhile read. I think one thing I would like to share too is that knowing just a little bit about my dad, one last thing, um, he was very, very looking forward to being there, very much wanted to have purpose in his life and was happiest when he could support soldiers. And he left saying, Vietnam is a beautiful place. I would love to come back someday. So I'd like to share a little bit of a positive piece, and I'm not
Mm.
overshadowing the brutality of it all, but I just would like anyone who had a loved one there to know that there's a physician group that was really wanting to support the soldiers and care for them, and it was obviously unpleasant to be there, but he made the most of it, and
Mm.
I'm proud of that as a daughter.
Lovely to hear that. And yeah, that's everything I wanted to ask you on today's interview. And for my listener, the latest release, as we mentioned, Four Seasons from Vietnam, Letters from My Father by Laura Langseth, my my special guest today. If you search that in, Google, they'll see all the results, where they can find out a little bit more information that way.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Great, lovely chatting with
Really,
you, and very best with
I appreciate your time. Yeah,
everything.
maybe I'll meet you in London someday.
Fantastic. Laura Langseth on today's show there.